I mean, they're probably
What's
both.
your computer?
Okay, cool. Well, wait. I was gonna ask you like 20 minutes each discussion. What did you want?
Let's just
Go
talk.
for it.
And
Let's just
it,
talk. Cool.
I just started. It's 5:29, so
Okay.
probably by like 50.
5:50.
Good.
Cool.
Um, but
Cool,
yeah,
because I'd love to hear way more of your perspective with the special education background, because I'm sure that you have a more comprehensive understanding of autism than I do. I'm
yeah. Well,
still
honestly, not
very
really.
new.
This is my first course for my
Okay.
for my master's. But I did take a my freshman seminar like 4 years ago was about autism. I've always loved
Okay.
people with autism. I have like a cousin who now is like in high school, but I grew up with him. And so I thought I saw like the effects of autism on like on a family and how
Mm-hmm.
hard it is to like get them help and services.
For sure.
I always wanted to be a teacher, but I just picked elementary ed. Anyways, so I actually enjoyed reading some of these cases.
Yeah,
Like,
same.
yeah, I thought it was just very interesting how you could just totally see their perspective on like back then they're like this person's crazy. We need to put him in like a insane asylum. Like so
Mm-hmm.
sad. But the first
Yeah, one.
sorry, what'd you say?
No, I was just gonna say I was on a similar level, maybe not with the asylum, but with like even in 43, 80 years ago, he saw a thread that connected all these 11 cases. I thought that was cool
I
to think
know.
that even now, because I'm sure you came to the same conclusion as me that a lot of these cases do fit the DSM-5
Yeah.
diagnosis. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was cool to see that even then they knew kind of these identifying features,
Yeah.
even if, in the 80 years since, we have since evolved and refined and really polished our
Mhm.
diagnosis to more than just, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, he was using stuff like physiognomy, the appearance of the face. So we've definitely moved past stuff like
Yeah, they
that.
kept
Yeah.
focusing on the parents, and I think they
Yeah,
understand that's genetic.
it was
Uh,
really weird. Yeah.
But it
Not
was
really
weird,
stuff we do
like,
anymore.
what'd you say?
Not really stuff we do anymore. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's like the baby won't stop vomiting, and the mom was a physician, and like just so random. Like, but I wrote down like for case two and case four, like the feet, like some of the things that they just said about the kids.
hmm I did the same
Like,
for 8 and 11. I went through the DSM-5. I just copy and pasted quotes from the case study that match the criteria for the DSM-5. So
oh,
however you want to do it, well,
well,
we can go like every other,
okay.
your thoughts, my thoughts. That sounds good.
Cool. Yeah, and if I have like one question in here maybe you can help me with. Um,
Maybe.
for case two, the little kid named Frederick. He
Is he
was
the one that said lions
um
can cry or
wait, did he? He
he's, I'm
was
gonna
saying some
scan
things in
going
his
right.
interview. Like that's one of the things that he was saying, like random things in his interview with the
Mm-hmm.
doctors, but did not pay any like attention to like the people themselves or like look them in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
He was
When a
really
lion can't talk, he can whistle. That stuck with me for some reason. That's what
Oh,
Frederick
I
said.
like that.
A
It's a good
lion can't
point.
talk, he can whistle.
He can't talk, he can still
Sure.
um, but he really was like all about the objects in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that would check off a few of them. I honestly couldn't, some of these things I couldn't pinpoint just to one. Um, well, obviously you have to, I think what you have to like meet at least two of them in each of the
Two
social.
of the you have to, I think, from what I understood for the DSM-5, you had to meet all three of the communication and interaction ones, and then two of the four for the rigid behavior, interest, object.
The restricted and repetitive
The
behavior.
restricted and repetitive one,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that was only two of
Okay.
them.
Well, I didn't catch that. Thanks for saying that. So,
That might be wrong.
thing. No,
Don't quote me.
I remember seeing one of the articles 2 to 3.
Mhm.
But I think maybe it's changed over time because a bunch of those articles were confused me. Well, not confused me, but they were like about how it progressed.
From
More about
Connor
like
to DSM-3 to 4 to 5.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
and
lot
I
to
feel
keep
like the
track of.
new DSM-5 it's like more of like a variety. Like you can only if if you because it's the whole idea of like the spectrum range, like the
hmm
spectrum. So like it would make sense that if you only have one in the social communication interaction and maybe like three in the other one, you're still gonna be get like been given help in
Hmm.
school. I hope. I think
Yeah.
because you're on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Um.
That's what was, yeah, that was what difficult about moving from categorical to I think they call it diagnostic approach, or
Uh-huh.
not diagnostic, but
The spectrum.
more of that spectrum look, like you were
Uh-huh.
saying. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's a variety.
Hmm.
So the not looking in people's eye, I see that as as I put SCI1, which means social communication interaction one. So deficit in social emotional I can't use the word reciprocity. So I think is that what you think? Would you say like no eye contact fall under that? Social
It's
emotional.
hard because I see what you're saying with, because eye contact is kind of part of that reciprocity. But
Fall under.
with, for my eye contact ones, I said two, because that's, for me, I thought of
Hmm.
that as a nonverbal communicative behavior.
True.
So
That's a good point.
body language, eye contact, looking. I thought maybe that was two. I don't see why it can't be both, though. Maybe
Yeah.
that's a
Okay.
part of the problem with the whole thing, is the nuance of it all, and like it could fit into multiple things, maybe.
Uh-huh. Maybe
Yeah,
that's why it's easy to check off all these because
yeah, because
they overlap.
yeah, they
Um
overlap.
and trouble with so I read that lecture that guy I remember him talking a lot about how like
The Yale
trouble
one,
the old one.
the Yale one,
Yale,
the Folkmar
yeah.
guy. Yeah,
I
that
don't
guy
know.
was
I
good.
learned a lot about in that
Did
one.
too. I'm
Uh
actually watching through that whole 24 video series. They're all really
oh
interesting.
really? Oh, good for
Yeah,
you.
they're good.
Uh, this one is he talks a lot about trouble with personal pronouns,
Hmm.
like saying I, like not saying I or not referring to yourself as me. I don't know what part of that falls under the DSM. That was my main question for this guy.
That
Was
was a big question for me too.
okay, good. Maybe we can ask
Was because
stuff.
I kept seeing the recurrent problems with language acquisition
Huh?
or language use,
Yeah.
and obviously that's part of communication, but the DSM doesn't really account, as far as I can tell, it didn't really account for that. I mean, it had one part. Let me scroll up to the actual
Three.
DSM part. I think where it mentions echolalia and those other.
Stereotype. I know. I feel like that doesn't really fall under restricted behaviors.
Yeah.
And there's not really
So,
it's a lot about like it's a lot about actions and deficit
mhm.
and social economical.
So that's definitely one I feel like we could ask.
Yeah, that's a good yeah, I'm glad okay, I'm not the only one. Okay.
Yeah.
Um just to get done with Frederick, sorry. I say he likes the same things. That would be under
Hmm.
restricted behaviors too. Um
Hmm.
doesn't like being touched when he initiates it, but it was interesting how after a while like his mother if he initiated the touch, that could be a thing. Um thought that was cute. Um
It too.
Communication interaction one and two that would check off on the DSM, I would say. And then
Hmm.
ignoring other people, that's like a common thing you see. And for him it was until age 6 and he played alone, had no interest in playing with others, and that's social communication three, I would say. Um
Yeah,
I would say Frederick's a good would qualify under the DSM five personally.
I would say so too.
Um okay, cool. How about you? Do you want to do another
So
person?
I did case eight, which was Alfred. He was brought in at 3.5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
His mother noted that he developed and fixates on special interests, which is, a recurring theme. An overattachment to the world of objects and a failure to develop the usual amount of social awareness is what she said about Alfred. So when I went through his case study, I did the same as you. I just lined up what parts of Connor's study would align with the DSM-5. And there was another one that I kind of wanted to mention too that I saw that is maybe a comorbidity with autism that we understand now.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred would eat, he'd have what I can't diagnose obviously, but what looks like pica, where he would eat
Mm-hmm.
inanimate objects, pebbles, the
Yeah.
insides of stuffed animals. He drank kerosene. And I looked up a study that said that, and they had a pretty reliable
Oh, good.
sample size. They had an N of over 1,200 for autistic individuals, an N of over 800 for other um, developmental disabilities, and then over 1,500 for the control group. and they consistently saw that among individuals with ASD, instances of pica were more prevalent, they higher occurring. So
Wait, so,
yeah,
wait, pica is what again?
is eating inanimate objects or
Okay.
eating
Um,
non-food like
I think the Yale guy mentioned something about he made this certain word, not swallowing things, but like sucking on things. Like, and I
mm-hmm.
think that is something because it says like he'll suck his thumb. But I
Yeah,
think I can't remember if it's case two, I just read or case four mentioned like in the interview with the doctors, he like did some kind of like sucking thing on his arm.
yeah.
I think
They said
I
for case
definitely has
11,
something.
they had to like mechanically stop her from sucking her thumb. Like, so she just, oh no, I think that was for Alfred. They mechanically stopped him from sucking his thumb, so he just put other stuff in his mouth.
Uh-huh.
That Freudian
Hair.
oral fixation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
definitely a world fixation thing.
yeah. So Alfred's were pretty, I mean, pretty similar across all 11 case notes. Uh, for social communication and social interaction, one, I quoted, no change of topic could get him away from the topic of light and darkness.
Wow, I think that's cool.
He was just so hyper focused on that. And then the examiner, whom he remembered very well from his visit 6 years previously, was to him nothing more nor less than a person who is expected to answer his obsessive questions about darkness and light. So for me, that exhibited that deficit in reciprocity where he doesn't understand that it's kind of a give and take in a relationship or in a conversation. He just
Yeah.
was take only.
Mm,
Um, or failure to initiate or respond to interactions. He would not respond to their questions. He would only ask his own. For two, just really simple defaulting to playing with the toy train when he came in the room instead of interacting or looking at humans.
yeah.
Just that nonverbal.
And like the objects.
Yeah, just that relates to his restricted repetitive patterns for sure. He would count the windows on the car trains over and over.
Hmm.
And then one that interesting language that they used for social communication three, which is that deficit in maintaining and understanding relationships. When he went to a special school, he used his friends like puppets, they said, which was kind of interesting. So just not understanding imaginative play or shared play or anything, he would just, I guess,
Take.
just take, yeah. Which
Yeah.
is, yeah,
I remember my cousin would always come to the house and like leave us some random things in the house.
interesting.
And
Just,
and they always are so random you can't even predict it. It's like some
wow,
spoon, or like some like random thing in like the living room. I don't know, but
interesting.
it's definitely
Wow.
it goes with the so with like the not being socially aware of like that, but
Hmm.
also like when he needed this one object, like he needed it. Like
Yeah.
there would be a huge breakdown if he couldn't have that specific thing. So they must
Hmm.
fixate their mind on having it before. Yeah, they don't stand down, I don't think.
I'm sure, yeah, just the concept of ownership has to be kind of difficult to
Yeah. Hmm.
comprehend. Like, it's here. Why can't I have it?
I know
No one
yeah.
else has it right now, so why can't I? It's got
Uh-huh.
to be, yeah, difficult to comprehend.
No,
And then the last one was we talked about the repetitive focus on the attachment to objects, not train. But then I did four, the sensory input. His mother was quoted as saying, the sound of the meat grinder, the vacuum, streetcars, trains, and lately the
yes.
stillness of a dog's barking would really
Hmm.
set him off. So,
Yeah, and it's definitely I need to figure out what's funny is that I recently, not recently, but a few months ago I ran into the teacher that taught the autism seminar class
oh
in like
well.
Earth Fair, and I was like I wanted to say hey whatever, and I watched this movie that totally like opened my eyes to like how someone like with autism, like their senses, like how that they hear and see. And I need to look back on the email and see if she sent the movie, because if not, you should totally watch it. It's like through like three or four different people's eyes, different ages all around the world. And basically like their hearing is so heightened, like a a screech of like a car from like a mile or two, like it's like something it's something crazy. Like
Hmm.
we hear sounding, it's like so much higher to them. And like I think it was either case two or case four also had like didn't like loud sounds, doesn't like that.
Hmm.
Um, they go like this, and they're sent and like with their eyes, they see their eyes have more like some kind of like sense where they what was it? Like not
Cones or rods or something like that.
maybe that they can it's not like they can like we can see the same, but it's like
Interesting.
their eyes go to certain things, which I think I could see, you can see in these case studies.
Did you
And,
see that in the Folkmar video
and
where he
um
talked about how they look at mouths instead of eyes?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that
I
was
thought that was
very
so interesting. I t
yeah.
actually stopped the video and told my friend because I was like, I didn't know that. Yeah, like we see the eyes and they look at the mouth.
Hmm.
They're missing 90%.
A lot, yeah.
90% of like the social exchange, or I don't know how he put it, but
Mhm.
in like that video, yeah, it's very interesting.
Good
It
stuff.
is.
How
I
far
think,
into Curious Incident
oh,
are you?
I have it right here. I need to read it. Just 88.
Because Christopher talks about the groaning a lot, where he to block
Uh-huh.
out sounds, he just groans really loud.
Yeah, I know. I like that. He's like, I just groaned.
Groan.
I just love,
I did groaning.
yeah.
I
He
did
just so
groaning.
knows who he is. Like, I just can't, like, you can tell he's done so much growth
Pretty
within.
based, yeah.
Yeah, he like he knows what he likes, he doesn't like, and he don't care if
Yeah, you don't care.
he doesn't care. Like, I just love it.
I I really enjoyed the. I mean, this is a discussion for another time. We're talking about case studies. I enjoyed it, but I have some problems with that. But oh my gosh,
Oh,
my dog!
really?
I'm so sorry, my dog.
Oh, what office are you at?
This is an office up at the admin building for where I work. But I
Okay.
did not know that my baby girl was behind me.
Oh,
I
it's
rolled on
nice if
her.
you bring your dog.
Yeah, they're really cool.
That's
My boss uses the same daycare I do, so I just we pick it like. But that's also beside the point. Um, yeah, case study 4. What did you find for
oh
DSM
yeah.
criteria?
4. So his name's Paul G. Paul G. Paul. Paul, by age 3, knew the words of not less than 37 songs and rhymes,
Yeah,
which is crazy. So that was his
crazy.
fixated thing. That's what he is interested in, songs and rhymes. And that's like his intellectual, like by age 3, that shows and like his IQ like so high with being able to memorize songs and
Hmm. Yeah.
rhymes. I put that with restricted behaviors 3,
Hmm.
restricted fixated interest. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 also could be under repeated, how you can have repeat things a lot, because I bet he was saying the songs over, if I had a guess, was saying them over and over again. Another thing I said, was attracted to objects, not people. He behaved as such people did not matter or exist. So good for Paul. That would
Yeah.
I didn't put what that would be, but that'd be either like what we are talking about with either 1 or 2, social
Yeah,
communication.
I think
Or,
just
yeah.
maybe even 3, just not understanding.
Uh-huh. I would love like a lecture of like them breaking down the DSM-5.
Yeah, me too.
That would be interesting. I had in like prime examples. Um, so back 3, never looked up at people's faces, same thing, eye contact. And the
Hmm.
pronouns too. He never used pronouns of the first person. So he would say you, but he would mean I.
Hmm.
And I like how the Yale guy was like, well, it's confusing. Like it is confusing.
It
Pronouns.
is confusing.
And it's like we just I think that you should just know them. And even
Hmm.
what like the second, third grade, they're thinking you should have your pronouns straight. Like that's kind of crazy even, but
Hmm.
um,
It's like what you were saying, where he maybe where your cousin would take things. That's what the Yale guy said, where it's my coffee cup, but I give it to you, so now it's your coffee cup, but it's still my coffee cup. Yeah,
yeah,
very confusing.
we expect people to share, but then when you
Yeah,
don't want to share, they don't want to share.
yeah.
Last thing I said for him, for Paul, was repeating phrases. Like I this quote, all these and many other things were not only repetitions, but occurred day after day with almost photographic sameness.
Yeah.
Which I think photographic sameness is a good way to represent those repeated behaviors.
Yeah. Pretty
So
excessive.
also Paul, I would say he would qualify. I feel like I didn't get that much information from these 2 people. I would need a little bit more information to see
Hmm.
about checking them off for like what their routines like during the life, what their daily life, and hearing more things they
That's
say. And
definitely where we've evolved as a
Yeah.
diagnostic society, and
Yeah, and the parents
teams of people
don't matter.
involved, and parent. Yeah, there's a lot more involved nowadays,
Yeah.
which is.
Okay, what's the last one you did?
I did the final one. I did 11. Elaine C. She was brought in at 7 years and 2 months. Um, and then for the first three, the social communication, social interaction, I quoted for one, her attitude toward the examiner remained vague and detached. She made no personal appeal for help or sympathy. She had no real contact with the persons in the office. While there, she soon learned the names of all the children, knew the color of their eyes, the bed in which they slept, and many other details about them, but never entered into any relationship with them. So that's just that lack of that social emotional reciprocity, not understanding.
I would say
I mean,
so.
that could go for three as well, that lack of relationships.
Uh-huh. I
And
know
then,
that could also fall under that.
yeah,
The
I mean,
appropriate like developmental level, like saying those kids in her class, she
mhm,
should never form. Yeah.
yeah. For two, that was just focusing on eye contact stuff. Without looking at him, she does not look into one's face. And like you said, I mean, that's just one
Yeah.
aspect of it. You'd need a lot more maybe to
Mm-hmm.
confidently say, oh, yeah, she is. But,
Yeah.
and then for three, she does not understand other children's games. She doesn't retain interest in stories read to her. She wanders off and walks by herself. Just difficulty engaging in imaginative play, making friends, stuff like that. And then I think for both my case studies, I did three and four, the fixated interests and the sensory input. She's
Yep.
frightened by noises and anything moving towards her. She's afraid of the vacuum cleaner that she would not, she was so afraid of the vacuum cleaner that she would not even go near the closet where it was kept. And when it was used, she ran out into the garage, covering her ears with her hands. And then
Mm.
she developed an early interest in pictures of animals. Though generally restless, she could for hours concentrate on looking at such pictures. So that hyperfixation.
Yeah, the noises makes me feel really bad.
Yeah, it
Like,
does too, because it's a pretty noisy place out here in the
no, I
world.
know, like the world is so loud that, and like
Loud.
I talk so loud, and
Yeah,
like I would, if I was like, in an environment like in a classroom, like I would have to be, I didn't think about this, but I have to be really aware of my tone, my voice level, maybe. Probably.
yeah, which is good. Good to be aware of.
Yeah, it
So
is.
I'd say conclusively, I wrote my thoughts down.
Yeah.
The patients demonstrated resistance to change, repetitive patterns of behavior, repetitive patterns of interest in activities, lack of social interaction. They exhibit a lot of hallmarks of an ASD diagnosis, but I think saying, do they qualify? I think the prompt was they
Do
would
they
meet current
fit based
diagnostic
on that?
criteria as described in the DSM-5. I think they meet the criteria,
Mhm.
but we would be working with teams of specialists. We'd be doing tests and interviews in addition to just reading the DSM-5
Yeah,
criteria.
for
So
sure.
while they might meet the criteria, I don't know if they would merit a diagnosis based on there's still a lot of stuff missing. So
Yeah, but I think they definitely are all on
I
the
think
spectrum.
they're all on the spectrum for
Like
sure. Yeah, I
if
think you
there's
could
at
say
least,
that.
yeah, there's at least one or two things that I think would be good as like if you're like a family member with this person, a friend, a teacher,
Hmm.
or anyone, it would be good to know.
It'd be good to
It's
know.
it's enough things to be able to like other people to know to be aware of so you know how to best communicate and help
Absolutely.
the person. But yeah, this is so great. I'm so glad we
Are
could just
you
talk.
confident that we covered it? I feel like we did.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop it. Like